All right. We are back in business, babe. Welcome to the Evil Dojo. Got some new tunes for y'all. Let's see what I can get done before I have to eat. Still on standby until I get back on this new job that I've started. And, yeah. It's Monday. Thought it'd be a cool idea to set something up here and push things forward a bit today. I don't know exactly what's on the agenda, but I think it's going to have to do with the inventory, because I've picked items up, but they're not displaying yet. I've had them displaying before, but since we've been doing this massive fucking C++ overhaul, a lot of functionality I had working in this game I removed, or basically like turned off until I could go back and re-implement things in the new system. Well, we're getting very fast to the point where I am charging ahead and we are making new shit. So I see that Restream has failed once again to properly set my thumbnail. Okay, we fixed that. Just setting up a few things here. Then we will get some music rolling. My tags, all that good shit. Okay, we're good to go, baby. Let's fucking jajamo, blazamo. I am not the most elite, but very kind of you, thank you. With that said, can I think of someone more elite than me? Probably someone who's not around anymore. And they weren't from FNet. Rest in peace to Spectre. Rest in peace to Send. Actually, you know who from FNet has died that I considered more elite than me? Douchebag. So it was actually Douchebag who pushed me to get into Bug Bounty to begin with. That dude was a real one. I miss that guy. He was always enthusiastic and positive. And he was just absolutely convinced that the internet was riddled with holes. And he was right. He was absolutely right. So rest in peace to Douchebag. What's up, Beef Carver? What's up, Zebby? Zebby, is you horse? You horseman? I forget. I have the brain of a goldfish because I smoke weed all the time, so you have to forgive me. So many names. Why can't people just stick to one name? I've had the name Dark Mage since I was like 12 years old. And it was a name I chose. Not one that was given to me. Not that very many people would be that gracious, because when I was a kid, I certainly was not as skilled as I am now. Nor did I really know how to move in that direction. Because for all the encouragement to do what I want to do and figure out what I want to be in life, I didn't really have anyone pushing me to do one thing or another. Which is something to be said about familial influence and things like this. Because, you give a kid the keys to the kingdom, they're gonna fucking... Kids will do anything, especially if they're like fucking hyper. Give kids sugar, it's a bad thing. Hi, babe. Alright, what are we doing? I'll probably have to take my baby out here in a minute. I'm going to be making these inventory items display on the screen. That's the name of the game. Alright. Let me go take her out before she pisses on my couch. I'll be right back. Oh, hell yeah, Dungo. Appreciate that. Alright, I'll step right back. Just hang tight. got a bowl of rice, beans, and corn. Well, I should turn my volume down a bit. No, I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately. Well, that's pretty good. I did a presentation, though, for the Greater Gaming Society a little bit over a year and a half ago, I want to say. It's like at the beginning of let's see. It was actually, I mean, it was when my grandma was still alive, actually. Looks like beginning of 2023. Somewhere in there. Well, I'd love to, Dungo. There's only a big, I mean, a small or a big, depending on your perspective, logistical issue being able to attend like something like that. And a lot of it has to do with that little girl right there. Is assuming I can get my car situation taken care of, assuming I get paid by my employer. I still have this little old lady that I take care of every day, and disappearing for even an hour is risky, just because she gets really bad separation anxiety. And taking her in person to places I don't really think is a great idea either, because she gets, you know, kind of upset by loud noises and lots of people giving her attention. And, you know, she's an old gal. She likes to chill. She likes to take it easy. So I've kind of like accepted the fact that there's really not going to be a lot of in-person stuff I'm going to be able to do for a while. And so I kind of have to make this my base of operations for the time being. And when everything comes together, I'll be able to take some time to myself and recover. But at some point in the future, I definitely plan on doing in-person events again. It's not something that's totally out of my future. Oh, oh. Now, if I had someone to go and pitch it for me in person themselves, if I had a representative, that would be so awesome. I have very little documentation. I have absolutely no pitch deck. I've never even once considered writing a pitch deck. None of that's in the works. I'm doing all of that would get so far away from me actually making progress on the game. It's been kind of on the back burner. Documentation I see is definitely more important. the whole point of a pitch deck is for people who are like trying to get funding for something like that, or who have a incredibly already scoped idea. And I don't want to limit anything, nor attempt to run the circuit of defining all of the things that would be available or accessible. Because at the end of the day, this is two things first and foremost. This is an attempt at grassroots, from the ground up, from scratch, or as close to scratch as we can get, figuring things out as we go, re-implementing things many times over time in order to figure out the best way to implement something. And like, it almost gives me anxiety to think about, you know, like all of the different little details that I have to think about, like, oh, what features do I want? Oh, what's absolutely going to be in the final version of the game. And then at the end of the day, that's not how real development actually works. Sometimes things have to get cut for time. Some, you know, like I'm in the best position, I feel like, where I'm not getting paid to make this. This is totally a passion project, you know, first and foremost. This is an effort at me keeping my skills, you know, kind of honed and chiseled, while at the same time actually making something that I've been thinking about for a long time. There's certain aspects that I can definitely say are in the game because they're in the game now. But at the end of the day, what is the final vision of the ultimate end goal? And why can't it be described in a way where I'm building a system that can build multiple games, not just one? And, you know, it's like this really weird effort to like lock me in to some way of thinking. How would I feel if students learning programming were to sign NDAs and assist with that part of your progress? Well, first of all, the game's currently licensed under the WTFPL, which is the do what the fuck you want to do public license. And so anyone can go to the GitHub and grab the code now and take a look at it if they want to. Nobody, like, I'm not stopping anybody. I'm not gonna make anybody sign a fucking NDA for some dumb shit like that. That's crazy. Like, I think anybody, student or otherwise, can look at the code now and learn things that they want to do. And yeah, time being progress, it's like, maybe you can explain to me why I need a pitch deck. We'll start there, you know, because you come at it with this implication that I need the pitch deck, and I just don't see why. You know, like, pitch deck seems like something that you would throw together before you start a project and then show it off to people to like justify starting the project. You know, I could come up with pitch decks for future games, for not this game. You know, I could come up with ideas and storyboarding and stuff like that. I could totally do that kind of thing for whatever comes next, but not for this. Like, kind of see what I mean, right? Like, there's nothing to backtrack on here where, like, at the end of the day, the idea I'm working for here is grandiose. Maybe we should start with the idea, right? I don't know how much of the gameplay you've seen yet. Or at least the environment that I'm working in. Because before we make presuppositions about dumb paperwork like NDAs and PowerPoint presentations and stuff like that, well, I mean, the demo's easily accessible now. Anybody can go to evildojo.itch.io/projectrpg and start playing the last public build of the game in their web browser for free. Anybody can do that. So there's nothing here, you know what? Like I'll even put I'll put some text up on the screen so that maybe you know, it's clear how much I've already done, because I'm not sure it's clear. Let's see. Yeah, anybody can go right here. See that link on the left-hand side? So there's that. There's also, in addition to that, anybody can go play the game now or read the source code. I put out gameplay videos frequently over time. Well, I appreciate you calling me an awesome dev. I just now read that. Anyway, the point is I'm not as great as whatever anyone thinks I am, because anybody can be as good as this and better. I mean, there's levels to this shit, right? Like, the only reason I have any skill is because I've been doing this for 29 years. That's longer than some of the people watching the stream have been alive. I'm gonna be 40 in like 3 months. I'll be 40 in fucking 3 months. I've got goddamn near 30 years programming experience underneath my belt. Going all the way back to MS-DOS, and QBasic, Windows 95, Visual Basic 3.0, HTML4, pre-CSS, before JavaScript, before many languages even existed. So it ain't like I'm not putting the material out there, but the in-persons definitely get a lot of interest going. I got to iterate through these items in the inventory. I've already got code for the loop, so all I really need to do is iterate through each item and start with just regular display, because the association between the item and its ND ID should still be present. Items these things take time. I totally get it. There's a saturation point with public awareness, because at a certain point, if I had my way, if things go the way that I want them to go, I get to make this my primary work, my primary means of income. And on a more worldly scale, we make dungeon crawling competitive in the mainstream market. We make dungeon crawling equally as popular of a genre as the other big popular genres. I think while there are a lot of different old and new dungeon crawlers out there, it is still a heavily underdeveloped and underexplored genre. One that requires far more nuance in order to do something that's not just a hack and slash. To do something that's more than like a Diablo-like. So a lot of the inspiration for this game comes from a game called NetHack. And to a lesser degree, though still very similar, while I'm not making a world simulator yet, Dwarf Fortress has always been a very interesting point in game development, especially with regards to procedural storytelling. And so these are things I want to experiment with over time, but at the very onset here, making my ode to NetHack is kind of where this is at. So if you've never played NetHack, I highly recommend it. Okay, I just turned down the limiter a bit. Hopefully it doesn't peak too hard. I turned the gain up a little bit so I can talk at normal volume, but so make sure that overlays with the music fine. You can hear me still, right? Alright, so when we pick up an item, it's in the inventory. Uh-oh, somebody's adding me. Someone in the Discord mentions Fear and Hunger, a game made in art. Dude, shoutouts to RPG Maker. I actually emulated the original Japanese version of RPG Maker on the Super Famicom before I was a teenager. So over 25 years ago. Maybe like 26. And man, my Japanese was dog shit back then. I couldn't speak, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. But damn if I didn't try to figure out that software. There's a prospect of making your own RPG on the Super Nintendo? What? Dude, 12-year-old kid mind? That was crack cocaine. It was the purest form of dopamine. Straight to the veins. That shit, I can visually remember looking at the Japanese kanji pixelated text in the ZSNES emulator on Windows 95. I remember that shit almost as clear as day. It would be really trippy to like go back and look at it. It was called Super Dante's, and it was like Super Dante, right? Yeah, RPG School, Super Dante. Let's see. Can I find a Wikipedia for this shit? Yeah, in Japan it's called RPG School. There is a Wikipedia entry for it. It's the top version, although they list it not on the Super Nintendo. Wait, let's see, Super Famicom. Well, they do actually list Super Famicom in the list. It's like, I remember that shit, man. Excuse me. Come on, babe. Oh my goodness. Everybody say hi to Grace. We're gonna step out again real quick. She probably smells the food I got in the kitchen, but at the same time, you know, she's an old lady and has to use the bathroom, you know, a good amount. But since when did touching grass ever hurt anybody? Be right back. Let's try it. Yeah, oh, that doesn't look great. It's double drawing them. That's interesting. Why is it double drawing them? Oh, I know why. I know why. There we go. We got items in the inventory again. Like actually displaying. That's a win. Alright, all of the changes are live. Yeah, like, it would scale probably better than Vector would for, like, a large number of items. But as it is, I'm already having to consider handling, like item stacks, right? Like, I think I want item stacks. Maybe. I'm not sure. As it is, the grid that I've created was actually kind of thrown together, kind of vibe coded actually. Because, and even then, like, what I have is not like the most dynamic or, you know, like, this is not the most optimal way to handle writing this, right? And actually, previously I was doing, like, for a moment, it was actually set up as, like, sets. So maybe I could get away with something nasty like this, right? Wow, nasty this is. That's so nasty. Who can tell me why it's nasty? Like why does auto feel so dirty? Well, not necessarily, because each item has its own entity ID. So every item is already unique. And in order to do something like that, I'd have to be able to handle a dynamic item typing system. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing currently is kind of hard coding and like enums for different item classes. So at the moment, weapons have their own separate class from item itself, I think. Let's double check. No, item is, so weapon is actually a class of item at the top level, but I want something more flexible than this. Like, if you have a potion, right, like, and you have a whole bunch of different types of potions, one of the things I want to think about is, like, dude, lambdas are not verbose. That's the whole point of lambdas. Like, lambdas are actually kind of nice because they allow you to just, like, throw in arbitrary functions on the fly without having to like create a whole ass new definition of something to do some like really simple innocuous thing that you need to do over like an iterated set of elements. But imagine, if you will, I got like multiple different types of potions, and they're different sizes of potions, or maybe like all potions are one size, right? I've got graphics for like large, medium, and small potions, but I also do want to handle very specific like item generation templates where you might have like a large potion of strength, or a small potion of fire, or a medium potion of healing, or a, you know, at the very minimum, something like, or like a high quality, large, you know, like potion of speed with a, you know, a specific plus bonus, not only for the fact that it's high quality, but also because it's like enchanted, or when it was created, you know, with this extra bonus or whatever. So when these entities, or when these things come into existence, those types would need to be generated on the fly, and then the thing that would be actually stored in your inventory would refer to like a type identifier of sorts. And we could keep track of all of these different type identifiers in the same way that we're keeping track of entities. So it would be kind of like a separate index, or a separate like component table maybe. Or separate from the component table somehow. Just thinking out loud here. It's not necessarily what I'm doing right away. But well, so like one thing that we could do that would be kind of like really dumb easy, this is probably what I'll do in the beginning, is when you grab the player's inventory and you start like iterating through all the different items that are available, we could like aggregate and count, like, you know, for this entity ID, check the rest of the inventory and return all items of the same class. And so that way we have a list of entity IDs for that item class. And then whatever that count is, it would draw one of those in the first block, followed by like a number indicating like the size of the stack. This would at least solve the problem of like stack display, but it wouldn't be like the most efficient way to do a stack handling system. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, the whole point would be to not only like manage that sort of thing, but, you know, in a more proper system, each stack would have like a limited number of items you could have in that stack. But at the same time, maybe I also want to limit the number of items that a player can have in their inventory, and maybe like doing it where you just kind of dumb display one item per thing without even doing stacks might end up being a better, you know, kind of thing here, because then we're not encouraging the player to just like grab everything. You know, I want some level of intelligence with regards to what you pick up in the dungeon. I'm saying I might not even do stacks. It's just something I was thinking about. Grace. You okay? You've got like 30 minutes over there. Well, when you say shows one item at a time, I think I showed that we're able to display quite a number of items at one time. And I think what you meant by one item at a time is like this. So the next step in this process is to re-enable the code that displays the item detail in the right-hand side of the screen. But doing it this way, I kind of like this because then you'd be able to do like very specific inventory management without having to like worry about managing a whole stack of items. But I probably end up limiting it based on like, I mean, like, you know, let's take like although no, there's a lot of games that do stacks. But I think in order to implement this idealized stack system that I'm talking about, we would have to attach a very specific like item type to each item that we create. So whenever we actually spawn an item, let's do create weapon first. So at minimum right here, we actually can create a aggregated type based on the item type. And a lot of these things could be optional too. So we could have like a very dynamic type structure. So there's item type. Which we should rename to something like item class. And then item type could become something very encompassing. I am not the pirate sortware. Alright, we're going to be taking another trip. Very sorry for all these interruptions, but you know how it goes. Possibly you could create members of the item class that are to do with the stack quantity. Well, I think that would be something that would be actually tracked by like some other encompassing bucket. I mean, it says Evil Dojo 666 at the top. So, I don't know how it could be a question. Plus, he has way longer hair than I do. Say hi to my cat. Because obviously inventory screen handles the entity item class. And then if we rename I mean, we could start like planning ahead on this too. So if item type T becomes item class, then the inventory would have to become some way for us to, on a per like item type basis. I almost don't want to have to think about this right now. Because one of the whole points of keeping a stack of items is to limit the number of items per stack. And the real limiting factor isn't going to be how many items are in your stack. It's going to be based on the weight of an item. So I think for right now, I'm going to leave things as they are. Alright, in a little bit I'm going to feed my baby. My other baby's going to get fed. And Papa's going to have a little smoke break. Placeholder. Oh, it's an optional. Right. Oh, gotta love that. No warnings, no errors. Uh-oh, weapon name. I guess I'm not assigning direct weapon names to things yet. But that's still demonstration that the system works. But would be nice to actually see those names rotate. See, here we just do weapon name, but like, obviously the name of the weapon as it's set should be reflective of what the weapon actually is. Yes, the weapon name of justice. That's right. So as an example of this, if type equals weapon axe, just super basic, right? Sword, dagger, axe. Yes. That's what we want to see. We have not returned to the point where you can equip these things yet, but we are very fast. As in, I think that's the next destination. It's time to implement or re-implement equip weapon. Don't you think so, Grace? Miss Surfer Girl. Look who's standing up. She's like, where's my dinner? Where's my din-din? She's like, don't make fun of me. Grace, can you wait a few more minutes? I want to time it so that you eat at the same time as Nano. She's got a few minutes, but it's almost dinner time for her. I want to sync them up. It's a lot to handle with two animals of separate species and being a single dude who's a little bit on the disabled side, but they are good companions, and they're always hungry. So I want to make sure, like, you know, so because my time is important too, right? Like, I can't feed them if I don't feed myself. But I like to sync them up in the evening like this, so they both eat at the same time. That way they're both taken care of for a while. And usually when I eat, they eat too, so they get fed plenty. So what's the next? Right. What's... Dude, I thought it was a full moon last night. I forgot to check. I'm glad someone said something. Well, that explains a lot. Alright, let me go get her food. I'll be right back. And actually, let me check this out. equip weapons next. Alright, Miss Grace Ace is fed. She's having her after food water. Oh, Murphy. Excuse you. You need some more? Where do you think you're going? Oops, sorry. All right, let me get some smoke and try to get Gracie calmed down here. People keep coming in and out, but I appreciate you staying here the whole time. TN. This one will call you because the first symbol in your name means heaven in Japanese. Tien was also the name of a character in Dragon Ball Z, short for Tien Shin Han, who was a bald fighter originally in the Dragon Ball series, who was a bald assassin with 3 eyes. He wasn't a Cyclops. No. He had 3 eyes. But he had a 3rd eye in the center of his forehead. Which, I believe that there was some connection between his 3rd eye and one of the power blasts that he was capable of doing. Right. But it was always in front of his face. It's kind of like that Illuminati triangle that all the hip-hop rappers do, or all the people in pop stardom. Whenever they start associating with the Illuminati, they do that triangle type deal. Well, that's good. I appreciate that. Very few people are really here for the Illuminati confirmed, indeed. Very few people, I feel like, really are here for the code, and I think a lot of people who watch coding streams nowadays probably aren't watching as much C++. They're probably, like, more of them are watching, like, Go, or JavaScript, or TypeScript, or web development tutorials, or Unity, God forbid, or Unreal. Oh. If I were to try and shortcut you to greatness, here's what I would say. Start with C. For the love of God, start with C. And understand why higher level languages emerged from C. Think in terms of C. Think procedurally. Think imperatively. Don't overcomplicate things right out of the gate. That's one of the biggest side paths, like side quests, that I had to go on when I first began learning how to code. Was my school introducing this thing into my vocabulary called object-oriented programming. That's not to say it's not a good thing. In fact, for a lot of people who are coming at this from the top down, if you're a top-down type thinker, then object-oriented makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, it really gets in the way of learning, like, how to manipulate your computer. Because that's really what, like, for me, programming is kind of all about. Is really making the CPU and the memory, your RAM, and your hard drive all kind of come together and do something special. Yeah, like, really, I didn't get to take, like, as much C++ in high school or college as I wanted to, and so there was, like, a really big segue up until this point. But having traveled as many different programming languages as I have, and I'm coming back to C++, I think that says something about, like, the fact that from here, you can really do just about anything you want to. You can make your own language if you want to. Right, yeah, so like, they did that to us when we were in high school for Java class. You know, they introduced like classic array, and then they show you array list. And Java has a lot of the same templating mechanisms that C++ offers in terms of the JDK, the Java Development Kit. It's a big-ass API, basically similar to the STL in a lot of ways. And back then I thought, oh, Java's too easy. It gives us everything. I want to dig deeper. Oh man. If I had just stuck down that path, I could have gotten a job immediately out of high school probably. Like, I was one of those kids in high school that participated in programming contests. Dude, there's so many websites that you can sign up to in order to, here, let me open up like another little scratch pad file. Yeah, I've got, well, shout outs to a dearly departed friend of mine named Spectre, who was a C#.NET developer. He worked on the NBC Olympics doing video encoding for their streaming. Like they were with a, so one thing you have to understand is that like all services are rarely in-house. Like for a given, like, for a given enterprise or company, they might outsource the work to some other companies. Like as an example, I work for a company doing iOS development where we had a large number of contracts with other companies and corporations to do their apps. So you can imagine that like for any given corporation that does this kind of thing, you could cruise through the App Store and pick out like a number of different apps that they've developed, and they're all done by like the same group. It's very rare that like a company gets so big, unless it was like their bread and butter out of the box, where like they're doing their own in-house development, right? Websites you can go to get good, son. Let's fucking go. Project Euler. Project Euler is fucking brutal, and it's old school as fuck. It's very math centric, super math heavy. Let's see. So the first two pros are also the first two cons. So the pro is that it's old school as fuck, but a con is that it's old school as fuck. You know, just take it with a grain of salt. Pro is that it's math heavy. Con is that it's math heavy. Well, it's all very context specific. Like, there's so many different things you can do with code in general. It's not all strictly math. And actually, in like a lot of very introductory developer jobs, you'll find that like where was I? In a lot of introductory developer jobs, you're not going to need like calculus or stats. You're not going to need those things. I personally wish I had more reasons to fuck with more advanced math. I've always loved reading, like, or attempting to understand quantum physics white papers and, like, try to wrap my head around some of the more advanced concepts. Fourier transform, I always thought that was really interesting. Practical applications of calculus techniques. I never got into, like, formal analysis or like some of the more, you know, crazy, I guess, for the average statistician they would be run of the mill, but I didn't have a great stats teacher, unfortunately. You say it's not real math, but superposition can be easily described as a vector, so it's not fake. See, Fortran's old, and I'm pretty sure they're past 60 at this point. Yeah, what version is Fortran on? They are on Fortran 95. Yeah, they're way past 60, dude. Actually, after 95, they started naming it by year. And they're calling it modern Fortran. In fact, I've helped one student who was not even a programming student. He was an engineering student with some Fortran code. I went my entire computer science degree only touching Fortran, helping this one student. It was never taught in our classes, but the programming class that they gave to engineering students, which was not required by regular computer science students, had them learning Fortran, as well as a little bit of C. I found that very interesting. I also found that that one engineering student was terrified of syntax. He understood concepts, and he was ultimately able to solve his own problems. So I sat with him and worked out, I forget what program we were writing, but it was the kind of thing where, you know, like learning anything, you just have to be very methodical and patient. Oh fuck, that's awesome. I like that. Yeah, recursive backtracking is really the kind of thing that I should be utilizing in the generation of my dungeon floors. Because at the end of the day, I don't have a clear vision of what each floor should look like exactly, other than kind of like a vague conceptualization. So as an example, at minimum, there should be individual separate rooms with optional doors connected by hallways with some potential to like carve out other parts of the dungeon floor yourself and have some ability to kind of manipulate the environment a little bit. Let's see. So another website where you can go to get good sun. Hacker rank. see. Yeah, it's funny that, I've actually mentioned this before. MIT swapped their introduction to computer science language from Scheme to Python quite a while ago. And Python being so close to human language at best when written, ended up being a very popular API choice for actually writing your own agentic AI solutions. Actually, the AI stuff that I use, which is Aider, is very Python heavy, if I'm not mistaken. But even then, I've actually written my own pseudo AI agent that can interact with any model that you plug into it. And yeah, my solution was also written in Python. But I think it's kind of funny because you can do a lot of Lisp-like stuff in Python using lambdas. And I don't think Lisp necessarily brought classes, although Lisp did lead to some other languages that introduced the kind of data typing that allowed for classes later. I'm not sure that Lisp itself introduced classes. I could be wrong. Just going off of my memory. I mean, I don't know anything really about NA to N. I mean, saying it's the best way to do AI agents, you know, doesn't really sell anybody on like why they should use something, because everybody's got like a new solution to these problems that they want to introduce, right? And at the best case, you're able to implement your own without having to rely upon someone else's stack, because very often things get sold in a way where like they say, oh, you have to do this, or if you're not using this tool, like this is the biggest fucking buzzword. Like everybody and their mom has their own AI solution, and they're going to get online and be like, if you're not using this tool, then you're crazy. I don't know if CS50 has C++ classes. We can check real quick. Oh, here's another one. I mean, this should be enough for you to chew on for a little bit. AI bubble pop win. If by bubble, we're talking about all of the money that's being poured in, if we were to think for a moment about where most of the money is going, right? For all the money that's being poured into AI right now, the most of it is going into hardware development. We're fast approaching a point where GPUs are going to be like pretty much as fast as they possibly can be without us breaking into some new paradigm. Not a problem. And you know what? I started learning programming before we had any of these. And really, the best way to learn is to just sit down in an environment where you can try stuff and FAFO without fear of breaking your computer. So if you wanted to get reckless, I definitely advise you to install a virtual machine and install something like Linux on it so that you can kind of like start to build out like a environment where you can do stuff. Yeah, exactly. When is the NVIDIA bubble gonna burst? Well, it's gonna burst when companies stop buying their products, when they fail to deliver additional value to its investors. When people kind of realize that, like, I think there was a thing with like the most recent generation of GPU they created where it's like got some onboard AI shit, and so the graphics are kind of like faked out a bit. I don't know how fast or what, like, you know, how those new integrated AI technologies on these new cards would translate in terms of like offered GPU speed when they're actually plugged in doing like LLM shit. Nice, Threadripper, fuck yeah. AMD, boss. Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's like spin up, you know, a small VM that uses like a couple CPUs and has a little bit of RAM in it, you know, and just make yourself a little nice mini coding environment. Since you're early in your career, like, do yourself a favor, stay away from stuff like Visual Studio Code. Try to avoid IDEs at all in general, unless you like them, and in which case it's like you do whatever you want. But recognize that a computer is something very customizable, and you can imagine and dream your perfect environment, and you can be very creative. Hi there. Oh, that's interesting. Render doc. Well, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to use Visual Studio Code as well, they have a Vim plugin, so you can have Vim key bindings if you want. All right, I'll be back. Don't overcomplicate your choices. I don't know what Mint offers because I've never used it. I think it's derivative off of Ubuntu though, and Ubuntu is derivative off of Debian. And I started using Ubuntu in college. One of the classmates of mine I looked up to a lot recommended Debian, and they were using Debian back then. Fact of the matter is, you can pick up whatever distro you want. A lot of it is very similar. But if you want to just start with something that's Debian based, I would go with Ubuntu. It would be curious to hear about like what Mint offers out of the box, because at the end of the day, your Linux distribution is highly customizable. No matter what distro you start with, the only thing that you're really locked into is your package manager. So if you kind of understand the fact that one of the biggest differences between Linux distributions is the package manager, and you just figure out which package manager you're most comfortable with, I would honestly just recommend some Debian-based distribution. If Mint is Debian-based, then try it first. Yeah, well, and that's fine, right? Because like every Linux distribution may or may not have a different package manager than others, but at least if you pick up one, then you can pick up a fork of that distribution and still know how to install stuff. Not to mention, in many cases, have access to the repositories for another distribution on your distribution. As an example of this, certain packages might be only available in certain repositories, and so sometimes websites will have you add a repository to your repo list so that you can have access to installing that piece of software. Kali has its own repos, Ubuntu has its own repos, Debian itself has its own repos, and they all kind of ebb and flow between each other. Yeah, so if Mint is Debian based, then I would just say go with Mint and try it out. I'd be curious to hear what someone's experience trying it out is like. Maybe sometime I'll do a stream where I install Mint and explore it, because I've heard the name drop for a long time now. But you know, like one of the cool websites you can go to is DistroWatch. It's a big list of all these different Linux distribution types. So I'm actually on pure Debian right now myself. I've used Ubuntu the most, but it was with Gentoo that I learned the most. And there's a reason to use one distro over another. Every distro has a reason and a purpose. But that said, virtually any distro can be, after installation, made to look and operate and feel like any other distro. And even unknown distros. And really, if you found some weird shit that didn't have a distro already and decided to configure your setup in that way, you could actually fork off and like have your own Linux distribution. That's at the end of the day, like what a distro is a set of defaults. What piece of Windows software do you like? You say that, but you could always go in the other direction. You could have Linux as your base machine, and then like install Windows virtual machine, and then run your absolutely critical Windows only software, that way. Nothing says that you have to stay with Windows as your main host OS. You can come to the dark side. It's okay. We won't reject you. We won't shun you. We'll only shun you unless you don't come to the side. But that said, I wouldn't do that until you got comfortable with Linux enough to do that. Back in my day, our hardware resources were not nearly sufficient to run virtual machines. So when I made the decision to wipe my Windows XP laptop and replace it with Fedora Core, that was a really big deal. Oh, no. See, here's where I'm gonna tell you that there's a magical piece of software that I actually use for video editing. KDen Live. KDEN Live. Well, it's brave on one hand, but like, I had known about Linux since like my preteen years. I had waited 6 years to come into what I needed to actually get my hands dirty with it. There's no better way to learn. Get your hands dirty. After having gone Oh, that was a good burp. Damn. You should really look into Cadian Live. For every feature in Adobe After Effects that you think you need, check to see if there's a way to do it in Cadian Live. See, everyone who says that Photoshop wins is really going to have to do a side-by-side comparison, because honestly, I don't think that the people who say they need Photoshop is that those same people told me that the only reason they needed Photoshop was because they were too lazy to learn that you need anything to do with Adobe. But what do you... No, that's not on your end. That's not on your end. Goodness. All right. Never mind. I'll be right back. Alright, here we go. Alright. We got it equipping. Now, I don't have the visual display for the attack displaying the weapon yet, but we at least in the system recognize that the sword is equipped now. Similarly, if I were to pick up the axe and the dagger... Oh, it says they're all equipped. Fuck. Okay, that's if it's currently highlighted. But that's really supposed to only happen in the display. That's actually supposed to happen when they're all printed out, not necessarily like just when it's highlighted. So that's a bit of a bug. I can get that fixed. Not a problem. Not going to fix it right now though, because my baby has been grilling me for the last hour plus, really kind of all day, because she had an accident last night, and I had to do a bunch of laundry this morning, and you know, she's very agitated. So I'm gonna get some sheets back on my bed. I'm gonna merge this code over. And because the stream has been shitting a brick for the last hour or so too, and plus I've been on for about 4 hours as it is, it's probably a good time for me to call it quits just for today. I want to thank everybody for joining. I like this new setup. This works for me. Let's continue working and get some more stuff done next time. Until then, Dark Mage of Evil Dojo with a cat and a dog. Wish I could do something about the bandwidth right now, but it's really hard to say what's actually causing the issues. But either way, better not push my luck. So, thanks to Tien for being a good chatter. Thanks to everyone else who was chatting earlier. Hope to see y'all again soon.